Black Entrepreneurs Group. Lovely.
What's going on, everybody? Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content. Today, we got another good topic, and I'm just gonna jump right in. Today, we're gonna be talking about the mindset of a man. The mindset of a man. What does that really mean? What does that really entail? Where do we sit as far as mentally, our mentality, the mindset of a man? First and foremost, let me start by saying that women are one of God's greatest creation. But even though we have some similarities, we also have some differences. And today I'm really going to dive into what men really think about, what really goes into the thought process of a man, whether that be, when we're looking for someone to date, whether that's, just everyday things, just the mindset of a man. I'm really going to dive in with this one. The mindset of a man. First, you have to really understand that men were created to be protectors, providers. They were really created to do a lot of the work pertaining to strength, being strong specimens, being able to tend to certain things that the Lord wanted us men to tend to. He really took his time to craft the man first, and to craft the woman right after as a helpmeet. But the thing that really gets, misconstrued is that a lot of times we as men think that our partners, our women, our girlfriends, our people that we created bonds with, whether it's your wife or whatever, we think that they understand us. And a lot of times they can't understand us because we process things differently. Women process things externally, which means they speak it, and men process things internally, which means it all stems in here. We seem to think that everything that we think about, we seem to feel like our significant other should legit, we feel like they should really understand us. And a lot of times that's not the case. A lot of times they can't understand us because we're not verbal enough, or we don't know how to communicate. We don't know how to communicate or use our communication skills to really set aside time to really address whatever the issues are that we're facing. Being a man is really hard. And I think that this is something that I really want to speak to my male followers, but I'm glad that my female followers are watching the video, because this is really going to help you in your bonds, in your friendships, in your relationships, and in your marriage. These are things that men don't talk about. These are things that women go to beauty shops and talk to their girlfriends about. What is he really thinking? Or they ask that question. What is your boyfriend really thinking? Or why he do that? Or why he do this? These are the things that we as men don't share. Again, females process things externally and men process things internally. We tend to not ask for help. We tend to really take on a lot of the responsibilities. We as men sometimes find ourselves in a position to where we lose ourselves in trying to make our girlfriends, our friends, our wives, our significant others happy. We tend to do exactly what she wants us to do because we think that's the answer to fixing a lot of our own problems. We don't like to ask for help. We find ourselves feeling less of a man once we have to ask for help. We also find it very intimidating for a woman to have more control over certain situations than we do. Um, it's hard really finding the right pieces to connect. It's kind of like a puzzle. You know, we would have, if it's a 50-piece puzzle, we would have 49 pieces. And that one piece that we're lacking, we try to find it so hard. Like we look everywhere for it and we can't find it. And the reason why we can't find the missing puzzle piece is because we haven't solved our issues internally. We feel like, you know, we have to solve a lot of our problems. We don't like the phrase "I'll help." You know, one of the things that I find, you know, really, and it really baffles me, is that as a man, you know, in the relationships that I've been in previous to now, I honestly feel like when it comes down to certain things, I would shy away from asking for assistance. And it wasn't financially, it was more like mentally. How do you deal with certain things? Like I would write, I would reach out to other people to see if I was tripping, for lack of better terms. I would try to reach out to these other people to see what was really going on with me, because I felt like being in a position to where you're with someone, it's hard to speak with them about internal issues. And it goes both ways. I know a lot of times when women try to talk to men, sometimes we, you know, watching basketball, watching football, we stay off in the space and we make our women, our girlfriends, our significant others feel like we don't care, and that's not the case. If you bring a problem to a man, no matter what he's doing, he's having to process the problem. He's having to really sit down and really process it. This is what happens, and a lot of times when, you know, your wife, your girlfriend, your like the whatever bond that y'all have, you're trying to communicate with your significant other, and he is not paying attention by your standards, or he's just doing other stuff. That's because he really has to process internally what's going on. You may not get a response from him on that particular topic probably 4 or 5 days later. We're definitely not, you know, susceptible to people looking at us and saying, okay, well, you must have a problem because of this, or you dealing with this, or you dealing with that. A lot of times, people want us to be so hard because that's the way that we have been conditioned growing up. We were taught that, you know, men don't cry, men don't show no softness. We're not soft. We're built to handle this. We're built for it tough. This is what we're built to do, is handle pain, handle things. And we all have heard it, you know, hey man, if you fall outside as a girl, you know, running or whatever it is you're doing outside as a little girl, you know, you'll have somebody come and dust you off and say, baby girl, it's gonna be all right. As a little boy, we fall, we get the, man, get up, man, you all right, it's all right, you know, get a pat on the back and go on about your business. We were conditioned to not speak on things that bother us or things that hurt us. So this is what causes a lot of confusion when men and women get together. Women feel like they want to open an honest relationship, and men can't always deliver that. Men can't always be open because they don't know how you're going to receive what they're going to say. As a man, again, it's hard being a man. It's hard dealing with day-to-day things, you know, having to try to figure out how you're going to pay for things as far as the bills go, taking care of home, making sure that, you know, your significant other is happy, but also making sure that you're doing everything in your power to really fill those shoes of being a man. Every male isn't a man. You know, everybody thinks that because you're 18, 21, you're a man. Being a man is being able to handle your responsibilities and not having someone else accompany you when you do that. Now, I'm not saying, you know, not asking for help, or I'm not saying that you can't get help along the way, but being a man is something that a lot of people strive for to get the title, and they really don't know what it is to be a man. You know, being a man isn't, you know, toting a gun or being somewhere to where you can call yourself the realest person. You know, being a man is taking care of all of your responsibilities, not just one of them. So if you got kids, that's making sure your kids are straight, taking care of your kids, taking care of your family, providing for your family. Those are things that separate the boys from the men. You know, I was watching a video a couple of months back by TD Jakes. It's called He Motions. It's a very powerful video. I think everybody should check it out. And in that video, he spoke on a lot of things pertaining to men and their emotional state. Females are very emotional, but males are emotional. We go through things and it's hard when we're in a turn in our life. Anything could be a turn, a death in the family, the loss of a job, loss of relationships, things like that are turns in your life. And our supporting cast, which is the women in our life, have to understand that during a turn, you know, if you're going to be there for me, then you have to understand that when I turn, you have to turn as well. So if I'm going through a death in the family and I need someone to talk to, you have to be that person that I can reach out to and extend, because if you're not, then therefore it makes me feel less of a man, because the person that I love or the person I care for isn't there the way that she should be. A lot of times we, as hurt people, find time to hurt other people. And it's not that we, you know, set out to hurt someone today. It just happens that way during these crucial times. A loss of a job, you know, once you lose a job and you're the person that's taking care of home, it's very devastating. You have to figure out what it is that you're gonna do to compensate the loss of this job at this point. And those are the things that we really have to take into account as being a man. Being a man, you know, when you have children and you have to take time to provide for your children, whatever that is, whether you gotta go and work and be a janitor or you're a teacher, whatever it is that you gotta do to provide, you are making sure that you're taking every necessary step to provide for your children. That's being a man. We find ourselves in relationships to where females think that they are the only people that have it hard, and that's not the case. Men go through all type of things, all type of changes, all type of testosterone issues, all type of sexual changes within yourself. Your sex drive it peaks. And during this peak, you know, emotions, all type of things come, but you also have a sexual peak decline as well. So you not only go through that, but you're going through a situation to where you're dealing with emotions, as TD Jakes says, and you're going through all these things and you find yourself on the outside looking in. You're questioning a lot about yourself. Your body changes. Your mind changes. Your mindset changes. The things that you used to think were cool aren't cool anymore. And this is where we lose our significant others. This is where we lose the women of our lives, because they think that we don't care about them, or they think that we don't pay them enough attention, or, you know, we tend to fall victim to not being there for them. And that's not the case. You know, it's hard when you're trying to be there for somebody and you're fighting an internal war up here. It's hard really trying to take the time out to fix a relationship issue when you're going through things up here. The men that I've surrounded myself with in the circle, we all hold each other accountable. It's times to where we have, you know, fellas night out to where we can sit and talk about real live issues that we as men face. And I think that all men should do that. I feel like you should have a set circle of friends that you can really talk to about certain things and certain attributes in your life at that particular point in time, because we do struggle with things. And what I really want to speak to the women out here about, when you picking and choosing someone to date, make sure their mental is there. Make sure they have the mental capacity to love you the way that you deserve to be loved. Make sure that the men that you're choosing has the mental capacity to be the protector and the provider. Make sure he has the mental capacity to do everything in his power to protect you, to protect his family, whether that's kids or anybody else. Because until you really, get to a point to where you can do these things, it's gonna be hard for a man to love you in the proper way. The real strength of a man is knowing his limitations, knowing what sets him off, what bothers him, what doesn't bother him, those things. You'll never become powerful until you really understand what your kryptonite is as a man. Until you know what really ails you or what really can set you apart, you will never really know how to live your life on the straight and narrow, or live your life balanced, live that balanced life, because it's hard to do that. We sometimes find ourselves in situations to where we play the blame game. We blame everybody around us for the problems that we have caused or the problems that we're in. It's hard. It's hard. I'm telling you, it's really hard being in a position to where you wear the pants. It's hard being a man when you have to, put pride to the side, or really apologize for something. I'm sorry for hurting you. I'm sorry for cheating. I'm sorry for, going against my promise. I'm sorry for these things. Can you forgive me? Can you really look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I'm really willing to work on these things as a man? The mindset of a man, some days I wake up, some days I'm not always happy. Some days I'm not always in a positive spirit because I know that I have really drastically affected someone's life in the negative. Some days I wake up and I'm like, okay, how can I make these situations right? How can I make people look at me differently? And the answer is you really can't. People are going to form their perception of you based off of what you are doing at that moment. If you're being positive at that moment, they'll perceive you as being positive. If you're doing negative things or being negative at that moment, from that moment on, you're looked at as negative. It's hard shaking the perception of someone else when it's based on someone else's opinion about you. We have to walk in those shoes. We have to fill voids, or we tend to look at people as our parents, whether it's our father or our grandfather in some cases, and we say, hey, I want to be like this man, or I don't want to be like this man. And we have to really create these images for ourselves in our minds. A lot of times with problems, as a man, for me personally, a lot of times with my problems, how I dealt with them was shutting down, hurting the people around me that love me the most. I would shut down. I would find myself in situations to where I couldn't talk to people because I felt like no one could truly understand what it's like to be a man except for a man. I never gave the females in my life credit enough to really sit down and really talk to me, and that's where I feel like I fell short at. I feel like I failed as a man at certain points in my life, from 20, I would say from 18, let's go from 18 until about 27, 28 years old. I can give you at least 6 instances where I literally failed as a man. I literally failed. I could not really wrap my mind around what it was to be a man. So now that I'm 30 years old and I see things differently, you grow, you accept that, you've done wrong, and you heal in these certain areas, you fix them, and you move on. You ask for forgiveness, you repent for the things that you've done, and you literally have to learn how to forgive and forget your wrongdoings as a man. You have to be the deadest when it comes to feelings in a relationship or a marriage or a bond or a friendship as a man. As a man, you have to treat the woman as a weaker vessel. That is so hard to do in today's society because at times we as men become vulnerable to certain things and we are weak. We become weak-minded, weak-willed. Our determination is really, how can I put it? I want to say it's really sidetracked. We spend a lot of time and emphasis on making sure that the woman of our lives are happy, and we get sidetracked with things that we're supposed to be doing. We can't always be in a position to protect or provide because of how we are in today's society, for the lack of, not taking the jobs or not building businesses, not creating the type of lifestyle we want, or we'll find ourselves in situations where we will let other people trick us out of our blessings. and that is really hard. It's really hard to accept when you've put someone away that you loved. It's really hard to accept the death of a loved one that was close. It's really hard to accept the loss of a job when it was the reason why you were the provider in the situation. As men, we've learned to have thick skin because we go through a lot. We find ourselves emotionally detached a lot of times from certain people or from certain things, so we can analyze what's really going on. Like I said, a lot of times it's not you, it's the man. It's his mental state is so important because he has to be the person that leads. And as a woman, by the biblical standards, she's supposed to follow. And I know I said this in one of my videos prior, but how do you expect a woman to follow if you don't know how to lead? If you're not a good leader, who's gonna follow you? And being able to recognize certain things early on and fix it is one of the most important things you can do as a man. Being able to man up and say, hey, this is my issue, let me fix it. Whether it's with your significant other or it's by yourself or it's with God, whoever you need to fix, whatever it is that you need to fix, you gotta fix it. And with men, man, we go into this cave in our mind, and we will be in this cave and we will find ourselves stuck there. We'll go in the cave after a horrible breakup. We'll go in the cave, after the death of a family member. We'll go into this cave in our mind from the loss of a job, and a lot of times we don't come back. A lot of times we can't escape the cave. We don't know how. We don't know how to get out of a situation per se. We don't know how to talk to our significant other. So a lot of times you're in a relationship or you're in a marriage and you feel like you can't talk to your husband at this point in time. A lot of times he's stuck in a cave. Something happened to him when he was a little boy or a teenager and he never recovered from it. He never actually took the time out to heal or fix the situation, and we as men tend to not want to seek help. We feel like we don't need therapy. It's just like a man in a hospital. Nobody really wants to visit a hospital. A man doesn't really want to visit the hospital. He doesn't really want to go there. He really doesn't want to do those things. And we find ourselves losing a lot of things that we loved because people don't know how to get through us because we don't know how to talk. If you ask a man what's going on with him, he's probably going to do this. You're going to get nothing every single time. Even the most vocal man has a point in his life or has had a point in his life where he completely shuts down. It happens to every man. I just want females to understand that you have to be patient. The same way that we have to be patient with you on certain things, you have to be patient with the man. We are direct and we are straightforward with a lot of things, but a lot of times in our mind, we can't be straightforward with certain things. And that's the part that's really confusing to a lot of women because they really want the open and the honest relationship. But honestly, it's hard to really talk about certain things with women. It's hard to talk to certain things, about certain things to the woman that you love because we as men don't want to look feminine. We don't want a woman to look at us like, oh, well, he's soft, and even though it's so cliche, men's supposed to be tough, men's supposed to be this hard being and things like that. We go through everyday struggles as well. And no, I'm not saying men, we really have it harder than women because women, they have, Mother Nature, they have kids and things like that. But as a man, we literally process more than about 10,000 thoughts a day. And because we process so much, it's hard for us at night to really dissect what's really going on. So this is, future advice for all the women out there. Whenever you're going through something, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and you really want to talk to your husband, your boyfriend, your significant other, your friend, someone you have a bond with, really take the time out to allow him to open up to you as you have opened up to him. Don't just rush into a situation to where you expect him to tell you everything that's going on. Because a lot of times it's not going to happen. You're going to get upset with him, and then you're going to be in your feelings, all because you didn't allow him to open up to you. As a man, to all the men out there, take the time out to really open up to your wife, to your girlfriend, to your significant other, someone that's your friend or someone that you have a bond with, so they can really understand why you are the way you are and why you say the things that you say. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, the worst thing that you can do is push someone away that really love you. Because we living in a time to where if you have something that's real as far as love goes, you should hold on to it, because there's tons of people out here that's looking to take your spot, and that's females and males. Take the time out to really get to know each other on a deeper level other than, simple conversation. Learn what makes him tick. Learn what makes him happy. Learn what makes him sad. Learn what makes her happy, and learn what makes her sad. And if it's something that she doesn't like or he doesn't like, simply don't do it. Don't put yourself in the doghouse because you find yourself not knowing what this person is thinking. So you go and you act on your feelings, not knowing how this person thinks. Because again, it's hard being a man sometimes. Sometimes, we don't want to tell women that we cry. But trust me, as a man, you cry. I cry all the time. I take time out, and really dive into, my pain, my hurt. And I write stuff. You should write. Get it out. Get your feelings out on paper so you can see your progression. But find your time, find your space to live a balanced life, and I promise you will understand that men have it as hard as women sometimes. Not all the time, but it's just as bad. It's just as hard, I promise you. We go through the things as a black male, that stereotype, and it's hard. It's hard to break that. It's hard being a successful entrepreneur, a black entrepreneur, trying to do things and not having the support of the woman that you love behind you. It's hard. It's really hard because we need your love, ladies. Let's just be honest. We really need a woman's touch. We really need that love. And when we don't get it, we feel left out. We feel incomplete. The worst thing you can do as a woman is not talk to a man and let him form his own opinion about what's really going on. Because in a man's mind, he's always trying to be there for you, and he's always trying to help a situation. And he can't be there for you, and he can't help you if he doesn't know what's going on. You have to let the man know what's going on in your life, ladies. You have to really take the time out to assess whatever the situation is and keep him in the loop. It's hard being a man. I promise you it is. And at the end of the day, if y'all can come together and agree that it's hard being a woman and hard being a man, y'all will work as equally to really balance out each other. A man should balance a woman, and a woman should balance a man. If it's one higher than the other, then y'all not balanced. Y'all are unevenly yoked, and that's a bad situation, real bad situation. So find yourself some time, sit down, and really give that brother a chance, because it's hard. It's really hard. Really give that brother a chance and an opportunity to really let him tell you about his life. Really dive in and really understand that the mindset of a man is not always sex. Every man is different. Men don't always think about sex. To be honest, that's the least concern on a man's mind at the end of the day. After a hard day of work, he may want some intimacy, but I promise you, he's not at work thinking about sex all day. He's not coming home and thinking about sex in the wee hours of the morning. He's thinking about how he can help you out, how he can, be a better man for you and be a better man by you.